Hello students, Mr. Bastillas here. Welcome to Unit 2, Week 3, Day 12. Today we will learn about the history of bicycles by discussing points of view on the topic with our friends. Now make sure you have your meaning mapper, your article a day, and your book of knowledge. If you don't have these, please make sure you have a piece of paper so you can write down some important information. Let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is watch this video, and as you watch the video, pay attention to the details that the narrator uses to explain how the bicycle developed over time. And I want you to think, what is the speaker's or the narrator's point of view on the bicycles? So watch the video and meet me back here. So what did you think the author's point of view was? I think the author believes that bicycles are a great invention that changed history. I also think the author believes that the bicycle was developed in different phases. Below is our focus word invent written in different forms. What I want you to do is I want you to match the different forms to the correct sentence. So read the sentence and match the correct form of invent. Let's go over it. Number 1. My friends and I are planning on inventing a new video game. Number 2, the first cell phone was invented by Martin Cooper in 1973. We know it's invented because he said was, so we know it's in the past tense. Number 3, what did Thomas Edison invent? He invented the light bulb. And he invented a bunch of different things, I believe. Now let's get started with our article a day. Today's article is titled, Building a Better Bicycle. Look at the bicycle on the left here. Compare this bicycle to the bicycles we have now. Are the bicycles today safer? Use details and examples to support your point of view. And when I'm talking about a point of view, what I'm saying is it's the angle, your angle of considering things, which shows us the opinion or feelings of the individuals involved in the situation. So this bike over here does not look very safe. Honestly, I wouldn't even know how to ride it. Where are the pedals? I don't see the pedals. I don't see a helmet so that I can protect my head. I don't see a steering wheel to steer this bike, so it does not look very safe to me. What do you think? Let's get started with our article a day. Bicycles have a long, interesting history. The first bicycle was developed more than 200 years ago. When you develop a story, you bring it into being. So when you develop a toy, you bring it into being. The Spanish word for it is desarrollar. Early bicycles, however, did not look like today's bikes. One of the first bicycles was called a hobby horse. It was made of wood. People rode by pushing their feet along on the ground. This looks like that bicycle we saw at the beginning, and that's why it doesn't have any pedals, because you just move your feet. Interesting. Later, a bicycle that had pedals and metal tires was invented. There's our focus word, invented. It was not comfortable. It was called the bone shaker. Inventors kept working to make bicycles more comfortable. Next, the high wheeler was developed. It had a very big wheel in the front. This bicycle was not easy to ride because the rider sat high up on the bike. The rider could be badly hurt in a fall. I remember the big wheel bikes from the video. Then bicycles began to have two wheels that were the same size. Those bikes looked more like bicycles today. More than 100 years ago, bicycles began to have rubber tires filled with air. That was a solution to the problem of a bumpy ride. The new tires made riding smoother. And a solution is an answer to a problem. So there were a lot of bumpy rides. So the solution was to fill the tires with air. Today, children's bicycles and racing bikes are popular. People ride bikes to get exercise. Bicycling is safer too. Now people wear helmets and bikes have reflectors on them. So bicycles have gotten safer throughout the years. Now, in your book of knowledge, I want you to write down 2 or 3 things that you learned from the article and that you would like to remember. I'm going to go back to the article and find some of the interesting details that I want to write in my book of knowledge. So the first thing that I would like to write is this information about how the first bicycle was developed more than 200 years ago. That's the first thing I'm going to write, actually. I learned that the first bicycle was developed more than 200 years ago. Now I'm going to look for my second interesting fact from this book. I'm going to look for it here. So you know what? I'm going to write it from here. I thought it was really interesting that bikes used to have a big wheel in the front. And that's how people used to ride their bikes. So I'm going to write that down. I also learned that bicycles used to have a big wheel in the front. They were not very safe. Now, when I was reading this article and I was watching the videos, it really made me think of the time that it made me think of when I learned how to ride a bike. I was 9 years old when I learned how to ride a bike, which is kind of old for someone learning how to ride a bike. I hope all of you guys already know how to ride a bike. Now, the last thing we have to do is look at our meaning mapper. So here's our meaning mapper. Again, our focus word has been invent. And when you invent something, you get an idea. And from this idea, you make something that has never been made by anyone before, such as the bicycle, such as the telephone, which we looked at yesterday. And the words we had in our meaning mapper are idea and recipe because they are related to this word invent. What other word could we add to our meaning mapper? I chose the word build because when you invent something, you have to build it. Like people had to build the first bikes or how people had to build the first telephone. So when you invent something, you have to build it and create it and bring it into being. Now, the last thing I want you guys to do is to add the word build to our word wall, which I added up here under B. And that's it for me. I will see you all next time. Have a wonderful day.